welcome you to Tropicana Field as the homestand for the Rays continue. Team number 2 in, it will be the Detroit Tigers. The Rays, after taking 2 out of 3 from the red-hot Toronto Blue Jays, move into this weekend series. Hi again, everyone, with Brian Anderson. I'm Dwayne Stats. Good to have you aboard. Todd Callis along in just a moment. Well, BA taking 2 out of 3 from the Blue Jays. The Rays reward. They get out of the East, but they play the Central Division leading Detroit Tigers.
Yes, they do. And you have arguably the two best third basemen in the American League going head-to-head. This very powerful lineup for the Tigers. Obviously, the Rays swinging the bats very well. But you start with Evan Longoria down there at third base, and this is a guy who's been getting it done all season long. You know, he's the only player in the American League that leads his team in hits, runs, doubles, home runs, RBI. He just has gotten it done all year long, and what we've seen more frequently is that power the other way. Example of it right there, really driving the ball well to center field, to right center field, turning on the ball that's inside to him, and you see where his ranks are in the American League with the extra base hits. Of course, 17 of those are home runs. Total bases and the slugging percentage. You talk about a guy with quick hands, quick enough to turn on that ball as we see right there, but this guy has a very powerful inside-out stroke. Does a lot of damage the other way. Line drives, home run power. That 368 average, first in all of baseball, and in the American League, the next closest guy is 35 points behind him. So he is running away with that. You see the home runs and the RBI, more than 1 RBI per game this year. These two guys continue to get it done at the plate and in the field.
And here is the pitching matchup. Alex Colomé gets the start for the Rays. Actually said he is glad to get a chance to pitch against the Detroit Tigers to prove to himself and his manager Joe Madden what he can do against this lineup. It's a big challenge, and Max Scherzer will be a big challenge for the Rays lineup. As you can see his numbers, he comes in 11-0. Having said all of that, the Rays in the middle of the American League East race, and they hope while they play outside of the division they can pick up some ground. Todd Callis has more on the tough American League East when we return.
Series of 3 games against the Tigers. Final weekend of June. Then it's on to Houston. Then right back home for a 10-game homestand. The Rays play 16 of their last 20 at home. And it's against Houston, Detroit, Chicago, Minnesota. All teams outside the AL East. In fact, the Rays tonight play game number 80. But they've already played the majority of their games against the AL East. As you see, the rest of the division has to catch up in the second half. The Rays have played 44 of their 76 games in the AL East. And the Blue Jays are the next closest. But then there's Boston, 10 games left, more than the Rays within the division. The Yankees, 13 more. And the Orioles, 9 more. We caught up with Ben Zobrist and Matt Joyce and talked about having this run leading into the All-Star break.
Obviously, we've had a tough go of it against certain division teams, and we're going to be playing some teams we haven't played yet this year. So hopefully we can get some W's, really get on a good stretch against some of these teams that we haven't played yet. If we can do that and going into the break, I feel like we'll be in a good position.
You know, this last push going into the All-Star break is something that we're excited about, and you know, obviously you're excited to get 3 or 4 days off, but I think it gives you, you know, that mental mindset. Okay, this is our one last push. Let's go ahead and you know, let it eat, let it all hang out, and give it all we got.
So we'll see how the Rays fare in this first of 3 against the Tigers. The former Tiger Matt Joyce against Miguel Cabrera and the rest of Detroit, including Max Scherzer, who's trying to do something that hasn't been done in over a quarter century. Start this season 12-0. The Rays will try and prevent that in less than 3 minutes. Enjoy all the action next.
Versus the American League East, finishing with a 5-5 mark, remaining in the thick of the division race. Tonight, the task does not get any easier, as reigning Triple Crown winner Miguel Cabrera and the AL Central leading Detroit Tigers arrive at the Trop. And we welcome you inside Tropicana Field for the first game of the series between the Rays and the Detroit Tigers. Rays come in 41-38 in the East, and the Tigers 42-35 in the Central. Let's take a look at the starting lineup presented by Sweet Bay Supermarkets. Austin Jackson leads off, followed by Torrey Hunter and Miguel Cabrera. Prince Fielder hits cleanup, then Victor Martinez, the DH. Johnny Peralta having a great year offensively in short. Don Kelly hits 7th, plays left. Omar Infante, the number 8 hitter, and Brian Pena, the catcher, will hit 9th.
Taking the mound tonight for the Tampa Bay Rays is going to be right-hander Alex Colomé, making his 3rd start with the team. His numbers brought to you by Coventry Healthcare of Florida. And I know sometimes it sounds like we're beating a dead horse, but with Alex Colomé, it comes down to command. His stuff, very, very good. A very hard, explosive fastball, very good slider, a changeup that is coming along very nicely. But it's all about throwing the ball over the plate. When he's done that against the Marlins, he dominated. When he did not do that against the New York Yankees, pitch count ran high, the outing got shortened. Let's take a look at the defense as it lines up behind Alex in the outfield left to right. Joyce, Jennings, and Myers across the infield 3rd to 1st. Longoria, Escobar, Zobrist, and Loney. Jose Lobaton will be behind the plate.
Jimmy Leyland, the manager of the Detroit Tigers. Leyland in his 22nd year overall managing this ball club.
They're already going to town on that gum.
That's what a manager does. And Joe Madden, all smiles to start this one. 8th year, 2-time manager of the year here during his stay with the Rays. Rays dropped 2 out of 3 to Cleveland's Tigers up in Detroit. All set to play ball. Alex Colomé on the hill, and Austin Jackson leads off. And the first pitch of this game is a bit low. First pitch presented by Pinch a Penny. We are underway. 3rd start for Alex Colomé. Rays have always been impressed with his strong arm. It's a matter, as you mentioned, command, and they've tried to simplify his approach toward that end.
You don't get much simpler than this delivery right here. Starting right out of the stretch. He's not pitching from the stretch, but you see right here the little rock step right there.
And it's upstairs. 2-1.
And that's what you'll try and do. You know, with a pitcher, if there's a lot of excess movement in his windup, you try to simplify things, shorten it. And this right here is to the extreme.
A little bit wide right there. So it's a 3-1 count to Jackson. And on deck is Torrey Hunter. You don't want to give this team any more base runners than you have to, because they will hit their way aboard for sure. 3-2.
You don't want to walk these guys, and at the same time you do not want to be in these counts. Sure, he gets this one by Austin Jackson, but this is not the lineup to be pitching 2-0, 3-1. They will hurt you.
And not only do they score a lot of runs, they, with that, draw a lot of walks.
And don't strike out that much.
And that pitch is inside. Jackson thought about it, took the fastball at 95. And this is exactly what Colomé did not want to do. Open this game by walking Jackson.
Now this ball, you see it tracking in. It's off the plate. Jackson earns the walk. This is the one guy, very good speed. You see that ball off by a couple of inches. And they don't run very much. The Tigers, they are 22 out of 32 in stolen bases. Fewest stolen bases in the American League. They haven't had a need to run to this point because they've got an awful lot of guys who swing the bat very well. A 282 team average. That leads all of baseball.
Now Torrey Hunter, veteran outfielder, hitting over 300 now. And there's a first pitch strike on a fastball.
Wait, how does he fit into this lineup?
Oh, he's perfect for this club. Veteran presence. He doesn't have to carry the load. He's got guys behind him in this order. He just has to go out, have fun, play baseball the way he's always played it, and then wait for Cabrera and Fielder to come up behind him.
Right. And then, oh, by the way, former center fielder now out in right.
Yep.
So you have that bonus of the defense.
Got 9 gold gloves. 0-2 the count. He missed the fastball.
Torrey Hunter is using the opposite field more often as he starts to aged just a little bit, been in the league for a long time, a lot of success, but he will shorten the stroke and occasionally hit that ball the other way. But he has always had that big, long swing.
And the pitch inside.
And you can see that's exactly where Colomé wants to go. His fastball's on the inner half. Here he's trying to close him out on that one right on the corner. It misses, but you want to try to tie up Torrey Hunter and not allow him to get those arms extended. That's when he will do some damage.
And it's popped up. Zobrist making the call back from second base. Hunter is out of there. Well, that ball had a little move at the end.
No, that's the Alex Colomé cutter slash slide. Cutter, when he leaves it up in the zone, it becomes a same plane type of pitch. When he's down in the zone with it, it really comes across as a hard slider.
And I'll tell you, we see that pitch. You can see it at 86. I think that one was 89. There's that fastball is mid-90s. Now Miguel Cabrera hitting .368, leading the majors in that department. And he fouls a mid-90s fastball out of play. One strike.
Now, this is one of those hitters that you talk about having to use both sides of the plate. You have to throw the ball up in the zone, down in the zone. You've got to change speeds. You cannot stay in the same sequences. You see what he's doing lately. His numbers are gaudy all across the board.
The 12-game hitting streak, he's hitting .447. You think, wow. But you put a man in scoring position, he's hitting .456.
Clutch, too.
And a long one to left. That one's going to get out of here and then some. Hit the cutter, and Cabrera hits his 23rd home run of the year, and that will give him 80 runs batted
in their 78th game. 80 RBIs. Just continues to get it done. I'm telling you, you watch him and watch his highlights, and you'll see a player. You talk about slowing the game down. I mean, here's that ball right there, middle, and Cabrera just unleashes on it.
Well, Colomé had given up 4 runs in 10 innings. They'd all been unearned. But these two on a walk and a home run go into the earned column. Now Prince Fielder. Fielder hits one a long way to the opposite field. Joyce to the track, and he makes the catch for out number 2.
Precisely the reason that we talked about, you have got to limit the walks, the free passes to this ball club. You can live with the solo shot, but then all of a sudden a full count walk, and now it becomes a 2-0 deficit, and it's just that simple with this lineup.
So the bases are empty, 2 outs, 2 runs in. And here is Victor Martinez. And you know the story on Martinez in regard to the Rays. Throughout his career, he has put up some imposing numbers against Rays pitching.
I think right now he sits at .366. A lot of at-bats.
Martinez missed all of last year because of surgery on his left knee. It's 1-1. Take a look at our Firestone Complete Auto Care Extra Mile, and there are times when it seems as if Victor Martinez has hit the ball an extra mile against the Rays. Highest average all time against the Rays. Martinez third on that list at .366. Behind Joe Mauer and Howie Kendrick. 1-2. His average coming in just 228, but the Tigers think that he has more production to come after missing all of last year.
I don't think there's any question to it. In fact, when you look at this lineup, Victor Martinez is kind of hidden in there. You forget how good of a hitter this guy is from both sides of the plate.
This one in on him, and he yanks it up the right side, foul.
He just kind of hides out down there in that 5-hole, and you're right, you miss an entire year. And it's going to take you some time to get that timing back, to get comfortable again.
You can only imagine it takes him 2 or 3 months to settle back in, find himself as a hitter.
Yeah.
Here's a guy who could have a great second half for this Detroit team.
Like they need more offense. I mean, look where they are.
Third and run scored. It's a high fly ball to deep left. Joyce back to the track, and a couple steps from the wall takes care of this one. So the Tigers are out in the first, but they get 2 on this swing from Miguel Cabrera, and they lead 2-0. And Jose Lobaton in the Rays dugout. Tonight's lineup for the Rays brought to you by Sweet Bay Supermarkets. Matt Joyce again leads off, batting in front of Desmond Jennings. And next comes Ben Zobrist. Down the middle, Evan Longoria, James Loney, and Will Myers sixth. Luke Scott is the DH. Lobaton catching, and Yunel Escobar, the shortstop, bats ninth. All against Max Scherzer. Hard throwing right-hander. And his number is 11-0. First pitch to Joyce. It's inside, a ball, no strikes.
Max Scherzer is as impressive as the 11-0 305 is. He's even been better recently. His last 7 starts, he's 6-0 with a 202.
High fly ball, center field. Jackson to his right, and he makes the catch for the out.
Let's take a quick look at the defense as it lines up behind Mr. Scherzer. In the outfield, left to right, Don Kelly, Austin Jackson, and Torrey Hunter. Across the infield, third to first, Miguel Cabrera, Johnny Peralta, Omar Infante, and Prince Fielder. Brian Pena will be behind the plate.
There's Desmond Jennings. He's going after the first pitch, and he fouls it back. And I'm going to guess you'll see a lot of the Rays hitters get into the count early against Scherzer.
I would absolutely tend to agree with you. I mean, this is a guy in 103 and now 2/3 innings pitch, has 122 strikeouts. Always a big strikeout guy, and you just don't want to get deep in the count where you start to bring into play that nasty slider for the righties and the very good changeup to the lefties.
And that goes hand in hand with 24 bases on balls. There's a foul ball straight back. The other part of his game, like a lot of really great pitchers, you better get them early, not only in the count, but in the game.
I mean, just look at his through the lineup. Third time through the lineup where a lot of pitchers start to trend north of the norm. That's when their highest averages. The team's seen him for the third time in a ball game. Max Scherzer, when he sees you for the third time through the lineup, hitters are hitting 150 off of him. So, and they're not doing much better earlier in the game, but your chances are better early. One of those guys that really knows how to smell the finish line.
Jennings fouling the slider. He had taken a slider off the plate. That one down in the count, just staying alive.
That's all he's trying to do. And if I'm Max Scherzer right now with that fastball, this next one right here is on the inner third. Inner third, you talk about locking the guy up. Breaking a bat.
He comes in, misses down with the pitch.
And the only reason I say that is when you see a hitter reach as far as Desmond did to foul off that slider, stumbled across the plate. Boy, oh boy, does he expose himself to that pitch in, and you've got to count your favorite 1 and 2.
And now back out and away with the slider. Count is full.
And, you know, he's gone away from the fastball. He went slider, then changeup, now another slider. And I got to throw something out over the white.
Full count pitch. And he strikes him out. Came 3-2 slider. Okay, that's the kind of night it's going to be.
Well, and that's what he can do. 3 of the last 4 pitches sliders. You see it's a true sweeping slider. He's got that low 3/4 arm angle, and he really will sweep that pitch, and it just continues to run away from those right-handed hitters.
Well, that brings up Ben Zobrist. A strike call. 11 wins for Scherzer. Zimmerman over in the National League has 11 wins. 1-1. Ground ball headed for second, and Bonte has it. And it's a 1-2-3 inning for Scherzer. On to the second. 2-0 Detroit. Brought to you by H.H. Gregg. A couple of young Rays fans rooting the home team on here. The young right-hander Alex Colomé back to the hill. He'll face Johnny Peralta, Don Kelly, and Omar Infante in the second inning. Touch for the 2-run home run off the bat of Miguel Cabrera in the first. Peralta is 4th in the American League in hitting, 322. Fouls it back. That's a strike.
How about the fact that he leads AL shortstops with that 322 batting average, hits, doubles, slugging percentage, on base percentage, second in runs scored.
Coming off a 239 season last year, in which he played 150 games. There's a strike, 0-2. .322 right now. There's Kelly on deck. Liner foul.
Well, Colomé wants that pitch down and off the plate because Johnny Peralta will chase off speed off the plate. He's got a long swing, likes that ball down and out over the plate, will drive the ball right center, left center.
He's in great company there. Cabrera, Davis, and Maurer, the only 3 hitters in the league with a better average. Also, as a result of his great work with the bat, he's drawn a few walks, and that on-base percentage is in the top 10. Count remains 1-2. Well, you see a lineup with the hitters the caliber of Hunter and Cabrera and Fielder, Martinez, Peralta's having a good year, and suddenly everybody in the lineup has increased confidence. It seems
it's osmosis. It just kind of moves through. And you're absolutely right. I mean, that's why when you get a pitcher in trouble, and they talk about, you hear that phrase, guys are fighting at the bat rack. Well, you just see one guy ahead of him, a hit. That's what I'm going to do too. And you take up that mental positive approach, and look what happens. Yeah, the hitters do feed off of each other. There's no question about it.
Back at third. Nice pick there by Longoria, and the throw to first in time to get Peralta. Well, these 2 third basemen. Cabrera coming off the Triple Crown. For the Rays, Evan Longoria's been in there every day.
Because of the hamstring injury last year, there was talk that they're going to give him some time off here and there and rest him. Well, his rest means he's going to DH.
Yeah.
He's going to be in the lineup, and I think that's the way that he wants it, and obviously the way that Joe has written him in.
Yeah, and you really get the impression from the times that Longoria's been a DH. He's lobbying Joe to take him out of that role and play him at third.
Yeah, he certainly, when he sees his name in the DH, he certainly does not like it at all. Wants to be a part of the game out in the field.
Kelly shoots it into deep center field on the run, and that's Jennings making a nice catch. Good break, and again we see this time after time, a straight line. Ball hung up a little bit, and if it does that, Jennings will catch it.
Take a look at him. He's shading him towards left field. This ball pulled into right center, and you see how the ball hangs up, and it makes for an easy catch from Jennings. He had some more room to go if need be.
2 gone. Here's Omar Infante. Infante at 296. Yeah, their number 8 hitters batting .296. And with a pretty good variety of extra base hits, more doubles, of course, than anything else. But 5 home runs, 14 doubles, couple triples for good measure. 1-1 to count. Toward left center, and here comes Jennings in to make that catch. So Infante goes out to center. 1-2-3. Evan Longoria will open the home half of the second with the Rays down 2-0. Rays half of the second. Evan Longoria is going to lead it off, and we're happy to have Tom Verducci join us. You're going to be here tomorrow working the national game, middle game of this series. Welcome to our booth.
Thanks. Looking forward to it. Justin Verlander, Chris Archer. Interesting pitching matchup tomorrow.
Well, some great arms, to be sure. And, of course, you'll be working with Kenny Albert, and both of you here doing a little prep work for this matchup.
I think we got to see Scherzer start last Saturday, his last start, and we talked about the fact that when you have a great season, everything seems to go your way, and no one gets more run support than Max Scherzer.
And a backhand stop by Infante, and there you go, ground ball up the middle, and great defense,
offense. I mean, go buy yourself a lottery ticket, huh?
Yeah, how about that? Almost 8 runs a game for Max Scherzer. You're talking about overkill. I mean, come on. That guy doesn't give up much of anything. And then they score him all those runs. And how about this play here by Infante? Longoria making a bid up the middle. Nice backhand. Get rid of it accurately and quickly.
Wow. Tom, these two teams, there were people who obviously picked the Detroit Tigers to win the Central, and that's been the case now for 2 or 3 years running. And some people have picked the Rays to win what is a very hotly contested AL East. So let's break that down. What's it going to take for the Tigers to win the Central? What's it going to take for the Rays to win the East?
Yeah, and I can raise my hand because I picked both of those teams to win their divisions. For Detroit, I just think, as much as they talked about the starting pitching, it's great. I think they have to figure out the 9th inning. And I think they have a month here to do. Rondon, the rookie, Bruce Rondon, has now joined their bullpen. Maybe they'll begin to slide him back later in the game. Benoit's there for now. I think really they're not really missing anything other than certainty in the last, say, 3 to 6 outs of the game. I think they're fine. For the Rays, This sounds crazy, guys. I actually think they're in good position in obviously the most competitive division in baseball. If you had told me halfway through the season, David Price has 1 win, Jeremy Hellickson has an ERA over 5, and you're right in the thick of things, I think you'd say you're okay.
How critical do you think, when you look at the schedule coming up, they have the Tigers, tough series here with Detroit. But leading up to the All-Star break, there's a great opportunity for this club to maybe put itself in a great position to have other clubs chasing it. What are they going to have to do leading up to the break to get to that point?
Well, I'm glad you brought up the schedule, because I looked at it today. They've actually had the toughest schedule in the American League. 44 games just within the division. That's more than anybody else. The Yankees only 31. You see, they've got a stretch here now where you look on paper anyway, there's a chance to do some damage. But I think the fact that they've played so many games in a division actually will benefit them going forward.
2 outs here in the bottom of the second. Will Myers up here with the bases empty. We can't let you get out of here without commenting on the arrival of Will Myers.
Yeah. Oh, such a nice guy, first of all. I got a chance to chat with him earlier today, and you know, he's just so impressive. It looks like he's been up for a couple of years already. He just seems very relaxed. This is a tough assignment for him here, guys. I mean, Max Scherzer, a right-handed pitcher. You saw the slider. He threw Desmond Jennings. I mean, he just nails on everybody, but especially right-handed hitters. This is an education into and of itself right here. There's that slider.
And you can expect to see a bunch of those as this game moves on. That's the one place that they try to go with Will Myers is down and away, but you better execute it, because if you get it away, you leave it up, he will hurt you the other way. He's shown that ability, the power to dead center field. And of course, the ball in he turns on, but you're right about that. Tough matchup.
You know, the other thing I talked to him about was he needs to learn a routine on the major league level, especially when it comes to doing the video homework. They're not doing all that in the minor leagues. You get to this level, and he'll go around the locker room and ask about Scherzer, but in terms of doing the video work, he needs to find a routine, see what works for him. He said you don't want too much information. You try to find that balance to get the right amount of information.
We've been impressed by, it's here a week plus now. We talk so much about young players and whether they can slow the game down or not, and that's something that Joe Madden talked about in regard to him. He seems to have just arrived and fit right into the rhythm that he needs to be effective. And is out on strikes this time. It's a 1-2-3. Tom, great to have you with us, and we'll be watching you tomorrow.
Great to be here.
It's very good.
Very good.
Tom and Kenny,
see ya
tomorrow night on Fox. Baseball Night in America. Rays and the Tigers at 7 Eastern. third base, replacing Evan Longoria. Evan grounded out on that great play up the middle by Infante in the bottom of the second. And it appeared, and I use that word carefully, it appeared that he might be favoring something right there as he approached the bag.
About 3/4 of the way down the line, you see Evan on what's going to be a close play, just kind of right there. Kind of pull up just a little bit. Jogged into the dugout, but I'll tell you something right now. The fact that your star third baseman doesn't come out to answer the bell at the top of the third, not good.
Brian Pena. First pitch to him is a strike. So we'll pass word along as soon as we get anything. But you're right. That is far from the norm and would cause you some concern.
We just talked about the fact that he doesn't even like the DH.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wants to be on the field all the time. So
you saw that little grimace on his face. He has that every time he makes it out.
Yeah.
But so you really have to look at how he was running down the line to make any determination on what he was like. Oh, now a hit by pitch. Pena on the 1-1 delivery is hit. And he'll go to first to lead off the third. So a man on for the top of the order. Here's Austin Jackson. How about the game they're having in Chicago? The White Sox and the Indians. The White Sox scored 5 in the first. The Indians scored 5 in the second. The Indians then scored 6 in the fourth and 3 in the fifth. And the White Sox have scored 4 in the bottom of the fifth. So it's 14-9 Cleveland right now.
They're using a T.
My goodness, what is happening on the south side of Chicago right now? And the White Sox will be a team the Rays will see when they get back home after that short trip over to Houston. One strike the count, and Jackson chops to short. Escobar, Zobrist, 1. First base, they got them both. 6-4-3 on the double play.
Now that's about the only way that you're going to get Austin Jackson. He's got to hit a ball firm, and he's got to hit it right at a guy, because he can fly up the line. That was a close play on what really was a routine double play here. Nice hop for Escobar to Zobrist on over, and look how close. I mean, bang, bang.
It's the third double play he's hit into this year, and you're right, you're surprised if he hits into one.
Yep.
Now Torrey Hunter. Fouls it back. Hunter is one of these guys in the game that it's hard not to root for him.
Yeah.
He's going to be 38 next month. He plays the game hard. He's a personable guy. He is a mentor type guy now for a team that would have a young player or two come along.
Yeah, an absolute asset, you know, to any organization that he plays for. Always an upbeat personality type of guy, smile on his face all the time, like you said. Helps out the younger guys, is still productive.
Yep. And he hits it on the ground to Escobar. Throws a strike to Loney. We're headed into the bottom of the third. Detroit 2, and the Rays looking for their first run.
You see David Price in the Rays dugout. We now know when Price will pitch. He'll pitch Tuesday in Houston, coming back off the disabled list. Joe Madden wants to think about it as a start to a new season.
Almost start all over again. Not like he had been throwing the ball badly. He was not. The results just weren't there for him overall. But coming back off this post-injury, just looking at the way he's been throwing the baseball, the numbers have been very good. So it'll be exciting moving forward, but I think that it's a great chance or opportunity for him to start over for the season.
Yeah, it's going to be good to get out there and face major league hitters in a major league venue. So it's been quite a while, and I'm ready to get back out there.
Luke Scott down in the count 0-2. Guys, they've kind of mapped out the first 4 starts for David Price. He'll pitch in Houston on Tuesday, then back here at Tropicana Field Sunday to wrap up the White Sox series. Then he'll face Houston again on Friday in that homestand, and then he'll pitch the first game coming out of the All-Star break against the Toronto Blue Jays. So David Price will be back on Tuesday in Houston. Back to you.
That indeed could be a very big lift, as we all know, to this Rays pitching staff and to this team overall. And in fact, it's the pitching staff that gives people hope that the Rays can put together a sustained drive and make a move in the East. And I really think that's a realistic hope for this club. When you look at the caliber of arms, pitching's a thing that's going to keep you there day in and day out.
Yep, and the track record of this organization when it comes to pitching and these guys that they're running out there is better. Tom Verducci said as you approach the All-Star break, David Price with just 1 win, Jeremy Hellickson with the ERA that he has, you know that those guys are going to get it under control. And I like the fact that David being out for so long is going to come back and hopefully be able to get on a nice roll before that break. He's going to get the Houston Astros leading it off. I mean, on paper, in theory, that seems to be a good matchup for David Price. Of course, the Chicago team he's had a lot of success against. And then the Astros again back here at Tropicana Field. So you got a chance to fire him off, get into the break, and then you better come out smoking because it gets tougher from there.
Yeah, this run up to the All-Star break is a very important run for the Rays. Lobaton on the ground to Cabrera. And so 2 up, 2 down here in the third. Price not only has been busy trying to get off that disabled list, he's done other things. Kelly Nash has a lot on that. What's up, Kelly?
That's right. Of course, he takes time out for the kids any chance he gets. And today before the game, he visited 2 different recreation centers here in St. Petersburg, part of the Rays Dugout Club. He's been doing it for 4 years, met with the kids, mentored them about eating right, staying fit, talked about his new bicycle he just bought during his rehab stint, trying to get the work in that way, guys. And we also talked about who is the biggest Rays rival. David was really impressed with the questions these kids were dishing at him. As you saw there, all those kids were raising their hands. And, of course, David quickly answered the Red Sox.
Well, the Red Sox seem to be a pretty good answer. The Yankees have always been a big part of that as well.
And I know you're pushing for Baltimore.
Yeah, I had a guy in Baltimore say it just makes so much sense because the Yankees and the Red Sox mix it up all the time.
Here's the deal. We need to be able to focus and hate somebody. I'm tired of hating everybody.
Yeah, you have more focus when it comes to that.
Just so tired of rolling out of bed, just fuming day in and day out. Just give me one series every now and then. That's it.
Yeah, and if you focus that to just one team, then you have a chance to make more friends.
That's right.
And the quality of life could be better with more friends.
Listen, my quality of life right now, Dwayne, is sky high. Kid yourself.
Well, you're limiting your friends. That might be why.
It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay. It's the season. Pick your own friends when the season's over.
That's it. That's why we never see each other in the off season, do we?
We will this year.
All right.
It's going to be different.
2-2 the count. And a one-hopper out to second, and Fonte with the toss to first. 9 in a row retired by Scherzer. 2-0 Detroit. Miguel Cabrera will lead off. Let's take a look at Wendy's now. That's better. That special year for Miguel Cabrera, trying to duplicate a Triple Crown this year. And it was not easy. Look at that. Mike Trout at 326. So he edged him out an average. Two players with 43 finished with 44. Josh Hamilton a little distance there in the RBI category. And Cabrera's trying to do it again.
Well, and he's got to catch Chris Davis in the home run category, and he narrows the gap here.
102.2 miles per hour off the bat.
Absolutely blistered. It's such an easy, smooth swing from Cabrera. He does not overswing. He is a very strong man. He's got a lot of juice the other way. In fact, that's the way his swing is set up. He has a true inside-out swing with a lot of carry and a lot of power to right field. That's why you see his average where it is, because he truly uses the whole field.
And there's a shot deep to left. Joyce will turn around and watch it go. Cabrera hits his second of the night. 24 on the year.
Just watch on the replay at how smooth and fluid the swing is. Effortless. And that ball, where it ends up.
Watch Colomé. If an explosion can be smooth, we just saw one. There's a shot into right center field for Fielder. He's on his way to second, and he's going to make it standing. So 2 pitches in, a home run and a double.
I think that's what makes Cabrera so impressive, is how easy his swing is. Yeah, you see some guys, and they're going for a home run, you know it. I mean, they swing for it. It's right here. 102.2 on the first. How about the second? He's outdid himself. 103.1.
So Jim Hickey quickly out to the hill after the home run and the double on the first 2 pitches of the inning. Tigers have 3 runs, 3 hits. The hits, 2 Cabrera home runs and the Prince Fielder double. 3rd time this year that Cabrera has had a multi-home run game, the 28th time in his career. Victor Martinez. Martinez takes the pitch down, a ball and no strikes. Well, he served notice a long time ago, Cabrera, when he broke in against the Rays back in 2003. His first hit in the major leagues and his big league debut was a walk-off home run against the Rays. There's a shot into right. Myers is there to catch it. Fielder will tag and head to third, and he will make it.
Now, the one thing that you want to see right there out of Will Myers is a little bit of urgency with the throw. And we've seen him do that a number of times, just easing that ball back in. He's got a good enough arm that you got to catch this and be ready to go instead of this right here. I mean, that's just a lollipop throw back into the infield. Prince Fielder takes full advantage and moves up to third.
So with 1 out and Fielder at third, the infield will pull up. Johnny Peralta is the hitter. Inside 1-0. Peralta, as we mentioned the first time up, having a rebound year in a big way. 4th in the league in hitting.
You go back to that throw by Will Myers and fielder tagging up. That not only the throw, I mean, he's running on that. You can't assume that he's not going to run. You've got to come up ready to throw. What that does is now fielder over at third with less than 2 outs. That forces the Rays to have to bring the infield in just a little bit to try to prevent that run.
And that makes Peralta a better hitter.
Better believe it. More holes.
Stopped by Lobaton.
That's part of the learning process at this level. Things aren't as cut and dry as they are, down in the minor leagues. And guys will challenge you. Guys will see what you have, what the arm looks like. And so he'll definitely be ready to answer the bell the next time. I'm sure that will be discussed with him.
This one hop right to Escobar. Broke his bat, and Peralta's out. So fielder still at third, and with 2 gone, the infield can drop back.
Well, we talked about Johnny Peralta, the long swing. Nice job by Alex Colomé keeping that ball close to him. So you get that broken bat, that weak contact. Big out there.
There's Don Kelly. Kelly hit the ball toward right center, and this time Jennings is shaded just a little bit that way. This pitch gets by Lobaton, and down the line from third comes fielder. That will make it 4-0.
Well, right now, the Detroit Tigers have 2 runs on the board that shouldn't be there. First of all, the walk before the first Cabrera home run. You can't do that. You can't allow fielder to tag up from second and get to third as easily as he did, because now after the bad contact with Peralta, you're almost out of it, but you yank a fastball, Lobaton off the end of the glove, and that's why that tag up by fielder is big. Now he scores.
1-0 to Kelly. Bouncing ball to first. Loney steps on the bag to retire the side, but the Tigers add 2 and lead 4-0. Cabrera accounting for 3 of those runs in tonight's game and all season long. Tires Plus donates $100 to the Pediatric Cancer Foundation for every Tampa Bay Rays home run televised on Sun Sports. It will be the top of the order for the Rays to begin the fourth inning, which means Scherzer has retired the first 9 men to face him. 4 strikeouts. And the pitch to Joyce is off speed and out of the zone, 1-0. Ball and a strike.
You see how he sells that changeup with the arm speed. He really gets out there and lets it fly, and guys have to dial it up because this is a guy who can live in the mid-90s with the fastball.
One and two.
Yeah, when you look at Scherzer's stuff, just his pure stuff, miles per hour on his fastball, the arm speed on the changeup, the slider, the fact that his command has gotten much better, and then his arm angle very difficult against right-handers.
And Joyce swings and misses, and the toss down to first on that ball in the dirt. That's strikeout number 5 for Scherzer. Toyota trend. First in wins, third in strikeouts at opponent's average. A little over 192nd in the league.
Now, the 122 strikeouts coming into play, Felix Hernandez is the guy ahead of him in second place with 123, but it's taken him 2 more starts to do it.
Desmond Jennings going after the first pitch. High popper back to third. And Cabrera back into fair territory. Takes care of that. Well, when you think of the All-Star game that's really just around the corner, the middle of July, Scherzer, boy, he would have to head that list. I mean, you would think that right now, 11-0, Buchholz, depending on his physical condition. And how about Bartolo Colon, 10-2?
Yeah, well, that's what happens. I mean, go out on the left coast, become anonymous.
There's a shot off the bat of Zobrist. Well tagged, and that's out of here. Zobrist jumps on a first pitch fastball, and the Rays are on the board. Ben's 5th home run of the year.
Now 11 straight. Hitter number 12 for the Rays goes out in style. Fastball out over the plate, jumps all over.
So the Rays get a hit and a run and are on the board all at the same time. Now Kelly Johnson bats for the first time and takes a strike on the inside edge. Kelly in the game in the 3rd inning, replacing Evan Longoria. It's the 10th home run given up by Scherzer. The Rays have actually out-homered the Tigers 91-82 right now, which on the surface is very surprising.
Yeah, when you think about this Tigers lineup and how much power is there, when you think about Cabrera and Fielder, you figure they're leading the way, which of course they are, but yeah, they're right in the middle of the pack with the home runs, tied for 10th actually. Then obviously maybe it moved up a spot or two, but yeah, middle of the pack. But everything else, I mean, strikeouts, second to last in the American League. They don't strike out a lot. They walk a ton. They hit for a great average. On base is first in Major League Baseball.
And Kelly Johnson out on strikes, reaching on the change. Rays get around on the Zobrist home run. It's 4-1. Sports brought to you by Infinity, luxury cars that deliver inspired performance. By Florida Department of Transportation, drive sober or get pulled over. By Tampa Bay Radiation Oncology, when cancer strikes, strike with CyberKnife, available at Tampa Bay Radiation Oncology. And by Toyota, let's go places. Tigers lead the Rays 4-1. They're coming in to bat in the 5th inning. Alex Colomé against Max Scherzer. Colomé's given up the 2 home runs to Miguel Cabrera. And by the way, if you're so inclined to be thinking this way, Cabrera has 2 3-home run games in his career. He's seen 3 pitches tonight and has hit 2 home runs. And Omar Infante will open the 5th, then Pena, followed by Jackson. Ball, no strikes. Fastball mid-90s, taken for a strike. Popped up right side, and Loney will have room, and he makes the catch. So that's the first out. Time now for the Just For Men Auto Stop Foolproof Staff. Toughest schedules. Blue Jays have played the toughest in terms of winning percentage this year. The Rays, the second toughest schedule, followed by the Brewers and the Indians and the Mariners. And what the Rays have here is a tough encounter, obviously, with the Detroit Tigers. After this, they go to Houston for 4, come home to play the White Sox, the Twins, and Houston leading up to the All-Star break.
We've talked about, referenced that part of the schedule a couple of times now, and it just screams out, you've got to take care of business. Take care of business. We talked about it early in the season. When you get to those teams that you're supposed to beat on paper, you have to do it.
Well, you have Houston, of course. It's been a struggle for them all year. The White Sox are in last place in the Central Division, and the Twins just a notch ahead of them, and then Houston again.
Yep.
So when you look at that stretch of games, on the optimistic side, the Rays are going to have to battle to win 2 out of 3 from the Tigers, and they've had such a difficult time with this club. They've had not only the sluggers, but the Rays have had difficulty scoring runs against Tiger pitching.
Listen, the last 17 games since the beginning of 2011, the Rays are 4-13, and in those 17 games, they've scored 41 runs.
You're not going to win many games averaging that many runs per game.
Well, 4 to be exact, and that's not that many. You're absolutely right. Yeah, it has been a struggle on both sides. And Joe Madden even said that. He said, look, what it really boils down to is they have pitched us very well.
Yep.
And they run out some top-notch starters.
Going to be Verlander tomorrow against Chris Archer. And Porcello and Hellickson in the wrap-up game of this series on the homestand. And Pena looks at strike 3. So that'll be out number 2 and the first strikeout for Colomé. So you look at this series. Obviously, you want to win every game, and if they can win 2 out of 3, that realistically would be optimal in this series against this club. Then you've got 14 games up to the All-Star break against teams that are either in last or next to last or close to last. Teams that have struggled in the first half. And against those, you've really got to make hay and hope that you can run off. For an example, if this team could win 2 out of 3 here and then win 12 out of 14 against those teams that we mentioned leading up to the break, that would be a major run that would propel this team maybe to the top of the division.
You're not messing around, are you?
No, let's
2 out of 3 from the Tigers, and then 12 out of 14 like it's your job going into the All-Star break.
Let's go do it.
Why not? I'm all for it.
I mean,
I got nothing else to do.
Teams have done that. If they do that, they'll be 55 and 41 at the break.
And they would. I would venture to guess that they would be right in the top of the division. And by the way, when you come out of the break, you better lace them up.
Well, it'd be nice to have that cushion of 55 and 41 and the momentum. So we'll see. It's a crucial time. I mean, you don't want to go 7-7 in this stretch.
No, you cannot afford to do that. Even if for your mind. I mean, these players, they understand what's ahead of them and the teams that they're going to face. But you got to get it done.
Ground ball. That's Kelly Johnson. And it's a 1-2-3 fifth inning for Colomé. We got to the bottom of the fifth. It's 4-1 Detroit.
Inning, the Rays playing the rest of this game without Evan Longoria. Longoria running down the line in his first AB, a ball up the middle, and you could see, as you guys described, just a little bit of a pull-up as he was about 3/4 of the way down the line. Here's James Loney leading off the inning against Max Scherzer, taking a called strike. And as you see him just pull up, the news from the clubhouse is that he had an irritation of the plantar fasciitis he's been dealing with. Remember, he was the DH the last 4 games of the last homestand. He's been playing third ever since, and tonight he re-irritated the plantar fasciitis, so he will be reevaluated again tomorrow. Guys, back to you.
All right, well, that seems to be the most logical ailment, that something that was already there, and so it's been irritated. One and 2 count to Loney.
And anybody that's had plantar fasciitis in their foot knows how painful that can be.
Loney's out on strikes for the second time. 7 strikeouts for Scherzer. Here's the thing about Scherzer. He has 7 strikeouts in now 53 pitches. 1 out into the 5th.
Well, that's the thing. That's where he's different than in years past. I mean, this is a guy who's always run up a high pitch count, a lot of pitches per inning. And look at that. Efficient, but yet still racking up the strikeouts, which it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out. It's going to be at least 3 to get one of those.
Yep. 1-0 the count on Will Myers. All right, back to our discussion from last inning and the schedule leading up to the All-Star break.
Yeah.
A couple of things.
Well, I know you're very aggressive on this.
Well, a shot deep to left, down the line, and that baby's gone. Will Myers hits a slider out of here, and it's 4-2. Well, the Rays get 2 of those runs back playing long ball.
Well, here's the thing. He struck him out with the slider down and away, but that's what Will Myers is doing right now. He's forcing you to be perfect with those pitches down and away. If you leave one hanging, he has not been missing them. This ball was crushed. Got out of here in a hurry. It's a bullet.
Will's 3rd home run. Luke Scott takes a strike. Yeah, a couple of things on that stretch. One, Longoria has to be relatively healthy and play.
Yes.
That's the first thing. And the second thing, and I'm not going to come off 12-2, but let's just assume they only go 10-4. They would still be 53-43 at the break, 10 over.
And I think
you might take that.
I would take that, and I'll tell you something else. I think when the season started, if you say here's your first half schedule, at the All-Star break, you're going to be 10 games over 500. I think Joe Madden would take that.
Mm-hmm. And especially in light of what the first half has been like.
Yeah.
It has been, admittedly, an uneven first half for this team. It's a step forward, 2 back, a couple forward, 1 back. And so they're right now 41-38.
Very uneven. I mean, a lot of things that coming into the season you didn't think were a possibility are. You didn't think that the offense was going to be as strong as it's been, especially when you saw them the first couple of weeks of the season. You're thinking, uh-oh, where are the runs coming from?
Well, then at the end of spring training and those first 2 weeks, and you're going, uh-oh.
Yeah, that's right. Well, the offense has become quite prolific relative to their peer group. It's been the pitching. Started with some uneven performances in the bullpen, and right now it's the starting rotation. They're banged up.
High throw to Scherzer from the outfield from Infante, who saved another hit. Infante, a great play right there.
Yes, it was, and a great play by Max Scherzer to not only be able to corral that baseball, but keep his foot on the bag. Well, this looked like it was bound for over Scherzer's head, or at least pulling him off the bag. But Infante gets to it. Well, that's a nice play on both ends. See how as he comes to the bag, how he has his hands out in front, hoping for the ball at the chest, but anticipating a bad throw, and he was able to adjust.
That's where yoga and creative dance really help on that play.
Most certainly. And you can mix in some Pilates, too.
Absolutely.
Yep.
There you go. Jose Lobaton fouls the off-speed pitch, strike 1.
I will have what he's having. I mean, you are firing tonight.
Got a 4-2 game. Moving right along.
Hey, you want to get? You know what? We were talking about the fact that we don't hang out a whole lot in the off season.
Yeah.
We should get together tomorrow night for the game.
Yeah.
We'll just sit like we'll just go meet up at an establishment, an adult establishment, and we'll just sit there and we'll just call the game right there at the bar. Just you and I.
Yeah.
People would dig that.
You think?
I know it.
You don't think there'd be complaints?
There would not be complaints.
Okay, enough, guys, enough. That wouldn't happen.
We throw down.
Could we bring the whole crew?
All of them.
Oh, yeah.
And I've got stories, too, for in between innings. Really good ones.
That's an idea.
Really good ones.
Okay. The 1-2. A little bit wide. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Yeah, by that you would hope that we could have maybe a little dinner.
Yes.
You know, and something refreshing to help with that. Fly ball to center. Jackson is there. That's the kind of establishment that we frequent.
That's right. Need to wash it down.
We go to the 6th. 4-2 Detroit.
Lead and reduced it in half is now 4-2 Detroit after the home run by Will Myers. Alex Colomé getting a start tonight, which leads us to our AT&T Twitter poll question. When David Price returns, who should pitch in what is essentially Alex Cobb's place in the rotation? Hashtag TB1 Chris Archer, hashtag TB2 tonight's starter Alex Colomé, or hashtag TB3 Alex Torres. Joe Madden said he likes Torres in the bullpen, but a lot of fans like Alex Torres as a potential starter. Tweet your votes to @SunSportsRays. Guys, back to you.
All right, well, there's Alex Cobb and David Price. Well, if the Rays could get that rotation back, hitting on all cylinders, that would be a big part of putting together a run that we're describing.
Yeah, but until then, and I agree with you, you get those guys back together and you figure that David Price is going to come back, got a lot of motivation. He would never have thought that he'd be coming off of an injury and sitting at 1 win going into July. So this guy, tons of motivation. He wants to be back out there. Said, I'm tired of sitting on the sidelines. And Alex Cobb, he feels the same way. That's just going to be a process of getting him back. But until then, we go back to that poll. It's going to be Colomé or Archer, one or the other. Alex Torres, we know, is not being moved into that starting rotation. Joe likes him in the bullpen, and in fact has said high leverage situations, maybe later in games, he's going to start to trend and move back there. We saw that the other night.
Well, he's pitched well enough to have earned that role.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how you do it. You open up a manager's eye, and then all of a sudden he's like, you know what? He's been doing a nice job in middle relief and calming the game down and coming in and eating up some quality innings, but he was doing it in such a way that it was so dominant that you're like, you know what? Let's maybe try him in the 7th inning in its situation where, maybe Jake McGee's pitched 2 or 3 days in a row and he can fulfill that role, and all of a sudden he has some success, and now you say, you know what? Got another potential setup guy here.
Yep.
And the back end of that bullpen is starting to thicken up for the Rays because you got McGee, Peralta, now you got Torres.
And he's still a guy down there who might be able to give you a couple innings at a time.
No doubt. No doubt.
Chopped down to third for Kelly Johnson. And the throw across to Loney. Hunter's out, number 1.
And you don't want to forget Fernando Rodney either. Not to even mention him, what he's done his last 7 times out. 7 saves, giving up 3 hits, no runs. He's starting to look like the guy we saw last year, where when he took the mound, that was it. Ball game.
Well, here is Miguel Cabrera. He's seen 3 pitches tonight. He's hit 2 of them out. And he bats with 1 out and the base is empty in the 6th. Pitch is a strike at the knees. Colomé with a strikeout and a walk. He's given up 4 runs, 3 hits. One and one. Cabrera now with 24 home runs. And he fouls it at his feet. And Cabrera trying to repeat. Only 4 Triple Crown winners since 1947. And look at Mantle, Robinson, Yastrzemski, the way they followed it up. And Cabrera with a shot, although he and Chris Davis are going to, it would appear, battle it out in the home run derby.
And the RBIs.
Yep.
Well, I think he's the guy behind him at batting average, too, although coming into play, he was 35 points behind him at 333. More home runs and just trailing slightly in RBIs.
Liner into left center for a base hit. Joyce cuts it off, turned at first, and Cabrera is aboard. Well, in a way, that's progress. You keep him in the ballpark, but he is 3 for 3 tonight.
Just not afraid to hit with 2 strikes. Here's the deal. Colomé comes in there for the 4th, 5th straight pitch. They're pounding him in with the fastball. And look at it, just short and quick to the baseball. And that ball just jumps off the bat. Cabrera with his 3rd hit of the night.
Well, that's the other thing about him. We've seen his power, but he's a good hitter.
368.
And that's the combination that makes it so rare.
Yep. And he's just able to, he understands what pitchers are trying to do to him, too. You know, he's a guy that you have to continually change patterns, change the side of the plate you're throwing to, try to make him as uncomfortable as possible. Not an easy task.
Well, he's 3 for 3 tonight. He's up to 375
there you go.
Right now.
Well, and the other thing, you don't hit 375 unless you use the whole field. And he does that very well. In fact, he's got, I mean, how many times you see him hitting balls out to right center field with regularity? A lot of base hits on the other side.
One out single, Cabrera aboard. Fielder doubled and scored in the 4th, scored on a wild pitch. Takes a big cut right there. It's 2-1.
What a really nice changeup there by Colomé, keeping that ball in a good spot with good arm action. And that's what he said. You know, coming off that start against the Yankees where he walked 5, didn't make it out of the 5th inning, 4 1/3. He said, I need to make better pitches in better locations. And that's exactly what he did on that last changeup.
And a cut and a miss. 2-2.
Now coming with off speed once again. That looked to be an off speed pitch.
It's really hard to tell on some of his pitches whether he's, because that cutter and the slider, okay, pick one.
Right.
And then the change, and they're all right in that same neighborhood.
That's it. The speeds are the same. And we've seen some cutters tonight that have had some, you know, clear cutting slider type movement. We've seen others that have not moved that much at all. And those are the ones that's hard to discern between the changeup and the cutter because they are the same speed. And down one necklace.
And he misses low. So Fielder will draw the walk. That pushes Cabrera into second base, and we'll get Jim Hickey trotting to the mound again.
Well, we've seen this with pitching coach Jim Hickey before, and Alex Colomé doesn't want to allow these innings to get out of control. So if he sees something, he's going to come out quick and try to get Alex back under control.
So the Rays talk it over on the hill. A reminder, you can beat the heat with a summer six-pack. Choose any 6 Rays home games starting at just $12 a game and receive up to $30 in concession credits. All purchasers receive a Burst Pass Blue membership that comes with access to special promotions and rewards. Visit RaysBaseball.com/6-pack today. Here's Victor Martinez. Martinez 0 for 2. 2 on, 1 out now. The pitch is a strike. Jamie Wright up in the bullpen for the Rays. One and one. Two runs for the Tigers in the first, 2 more in the fourth. The Rays got 1 in the fourth and 1 in the fifth. We play in the top of the 6th inning right now. Johnny Peralta's on deck. Low and blocked by Lobaton. A lot of movement on a lot of these pitches, and Lobaton's had a busy night back there trying to stay in front of most of them.
Now, we've seen the improvement in that area of Lobaton's game. Very active behind the dish, moving laterally, blocking pitches.
It's a night like this, you're going to know you've been behind the plate when this thing is over. He's had physically a tough night back there. Strike 2 to Martinez on the foul ball. Boston leads Toronto at Fenway. That is a 5-0 game. We're in the bottom of the 4th inning. Stephen Drew had to leave that game with what appears to be a hamstring issue. He had a triple and a double in that game. The Yankees lead the Orioles 3-0 in the bottom of the 5th. Here the Rays are down by 2 to the Tigers. Swing and a miss. Martinez chases a high fastball. Big strikeout for Alex Colomé.
Elevated 94-mile-an-hour heater right out over the plate. Not the easiest pitch in the world to execute, and definitely not the easiest pitch to hit. And I think that was on accident. I think they wanted that ball in. You saw Lobaton tuck in behind Martinez. That was effective nonetheless.
Now Johnny Peralta. Key spot right here as Colomé tries to keep the deficit at 2. Strike 1.
This is where a young pitcher too starts to grow up. If he can pitch out of these types of situations, you know, Detroit was spotted a 4-0 lead. The Rays have narrowed that gap with 2 solo home runs. And now Colomé, first and second with one out, gets a big strikeout on a very tough Martinez. Able to get Johnny Peralta here. You talked about a confidence boost for a young pitcher. Proven to himself that he can get it done at the big league level being in trouble.
Well, after the home run by Cabrera in the fourth and then the double by Fielder, who eventually scored, he had to get the next 3 outs. Then he retired 7 in a row before Cabrera singled here in this inning, and he walked Fielder. That strikeout of Martinez, a very big out. Right now, the way this thing stacks up, and Peralta may become the hitter of the game for Colomé.
Well, what he's done in that little stretch is he's given his offense an opportunity to chip away, which is exactly what they've done. Zobrist, then Myers. Close the gap. You're within striking distance. Still got at least 4 at bats left.
A 2-1 count. And Peralta will not offer it. The fastball off the plate. On deck, it's Don Kelly. And overall, the pitch count by both these pitchers very good tonight. High fly ball, straightaway center. Jennings will have room back to the track, and he makes the catch. So the Tigers threaten. Lead 2, and it's 4-2 Detroit. Cabrera homered again in the fourth inning. Prince Fielder followed that with a double and eventually scored on a wild pitch to make it 4-0. Rays did not have a hit until the fourth inning when Ben Zobrist hit one out, and Will Myers connected with one out in the fifth inning. A shot to left down the line. That has made it 4-2, and as the Rays come into bat in the bottom of the sixth, they trailed by 2 with Escobar, Joyce, and Jennings due against Max Scherzer. Scherzer starts Escobar with a breaking ball. Escobar's had a great run of success against Scherzer. Came into the game hitting .393 against him. 11 out of 28. 0 for 1 tonight. And he tries to bunt, does so foul.
Yeah, and not easy to do off Scherzer just because of his stuff, but then righty on righty. Being a right-handed hitter and having that kind of success. Let's have him get something started here. Right down in the 9 hole. Get that leadoff man aboard, put the pressure on.
It's 1-2. Scherzer retired the first 11 he faced. Breaking pitch misses. Curveball, and it's 2-2. Boy, Scherzer has really, if you look at his pitches per inning and what he's done with that, it's pretty remarkable.
It really is for the strikeouts that he's racking up.
You don't think of a strikeout pitcher, and that's what he is. Came into the game third. He has 7 tonight. And look at this, just 71 pitches. And he does that start after start after start. He's averaging just a little over 15 pitches per inning.
Yeah, and being a guy, like you said, big strikeout totals.
Down to third. Escobar is the first out. 1 gone. Just a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, to look forward to Miller Time later in tonight's game. Brought to you by Miller Lite. So we move into the top of the order now. Matt Joyce. Joyce looking for his first hit, 0 for 2. All no strikes. Curveball to the left-handed hitter Joyce, and he missed with it. Three and 0. Fastball. Well, when you think about the Rays trying to match up with this Detroit ball club, and you mentioned what they've done over the last 17 meetings, the Rays have lost 6 out of their last 8 here at the Trop against this team. And there's ball 4. So the Rays have some catching up to do overall with the Tigers, and they've hung in there tonight.
They certainly have
made a game of it.
It did not look good early on with the 4 quick runs for the Tigers with Scherzer on the mound. But again, Colomé has found himself. He's slowed down the Tigers' offense, allowed his guys to chip away. They've got 2 solo home runs and now a 1-out walk to the leadoff man. Got a chance here to further eat into that Tiger lead.
Desmond Jennings at the plate, taking a pitch high. You see him shorten on the bat a little bit. Took the fastball up. That stays in. He now has a 2-0 count. A trip to the mound by Brian Pena. And the Tigers are going to have a little bit more of a meeting there. A reminder, ready, set, go to Tropicana Field Sunday when the Rays take on the Tigers, and kids 14 and under receive a Matt Joyce race car presented by the Crown Automotive Group while supplies last. Visit RaysBaseball.com. Nesbitt up in the count, 2-0. Scherzer gets a strike on a fastball. It's 19-10. The Indians over the White Sox in the top of the 8th right now.
You said the Browns over the Bears? Added a field goal.
Really? What a game that is. Popped up, right side foul. Fielder digging hard near the dugout. Makes the catch. That'll retire Jennings.
And I believe, Dwayne, that is game 1 of a doubleheader.
Of course it is. You got to play a doubleheader, and you play one like that in game 1.
Yeah.
Let's see. 19 runs, 21 hits for the Indians. 10 runs, 11 hits for the White Sox, who trail by 9 now after leading by 5 at the end of 1 inning.
Ouch.
So since that first, they've been outscored 19-5.
And you know game 2 will be 1-0. What is going on?
Take a look at the lob to begin with.
Oh, wow. You know, on the transfer right there, that was pretty close.
What Fielder's claiming.
Yeah, he took the handoff before the foot actually got to the bag. Let's take a look right here. He's going to dive back in. Now watch the hand come off before the foot. He's out. He is out. He absolutely is out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. One and one. That little toss over there, that's something Joe Madden would design.
They've got guys working on it right now
Yeah,
in
have.
locations that are undisclosed.
That's right. I felt a little frightened even to suggest that could be a design play.
You watch yourself driving home. Take a different route, many turns.
Helicopters hovering overhead.
Yep. Blue square. Blue square will get you.
One here to Zobrist, who homered in the 4th. He represents the potential tying run. 1-2. Rays have 2 hits. Both have been home runs. That's Kelly Johnson on deck, hoping to get a chance to hit in the 6th inning. Runner goes. The pitch is strike 3 call. Zobrist caught looking at a fastball. Rays leave a man. We're headed into the 7th, and the Rays are down by 2. Gulf Coast Honda dealers. Visit your Honda dealer for great lease and finance deals on fuel-efficient Hondas. By Checkers, feast on. And by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most innovative lineup ever. Shop at ChooseNissan.com. Alex Colomé will be lifted after 6 innings. Made 84 pitches and gives way to the veteran Jamie Wright.
Jamie on for the 36th time, 37 2/3 innings, 35 strikeouts, ERA 3.11. He's done a very nice job coming out of that pen.
Faces Don Kelly in a roller to short. Escobar up with it, 1 away.
You know, I'll tell you what, Jamie Wright has been very effective against the left-handed hitters also. That cutter, and that's what he started Kelly off with right there, has been a big pitch for him. When he's had success, he's able to bore that pitch right into the left-hander's swing and take the sting out of that bat. Curveball's been very sharp, shows a good sinker. You know, that was kind of what you were waiting for all spring training.
Yep.
Working on that sinker, trying to get that ball, and that was a work in progress all spring training long, and it seems to be that he's got everything working now.
He faces Omar Infante. Fastball is up, 1 ball, no strikes. 6 innings for Colomé. 4 hits and 4 runs as Kyle Farnsworth loosens in the bullpen. A couple strikeouts for Colomé's line. 2-0 to Infante. Two walks. So 84 pitches, 6 innings, 4 hits, 4 runs, 2 strikeouts, 2 walks, a wild pitch, a hit batter, and 2 home runs.
Well, he got his money's worth for 84 pitches.
Sure did. There's a ground ball just beneath Escobar's glove as he tried to backhand it at deep short.
I think that what happened there is Escobar was trying to time that perfectly. As he's backhanding, he's starting to lift that glove because he knows he's going to have to make the throw in a hurry if he's going to be able to get Infante. And you see him right here, that ball just squeezes right underneath that glove. That was going to be a difficult play anyway.
Catcher Brian Pena. Strike. Pena getting more playing time with the injury to Alex Avila, who's on an injury rehab assignment at Toledo. He's been sidelined since the middle of June with an injured left forearm. Pitch is down, so that's been close to a couple weeks now that Avila has been out. Pena hit by a pitch and called out on strikes tonight, and a move to first. Infante back in. Orioles have gotten a couple runs on the Yankees. Manny Machado's 37th double.
Wow.
37 doubles.
You know, and we were looking at Evan Longoria. We were talking about him and all the extra base hits, the good slugging percentage. He had 21. 37.
Mm-hmm. Drove in 2, and it's 3-2 New York in the bottom of the 6th at Baltimore. Some good young players, and Machado's leading the charge.
I mean, I just want to look at third base. You've got Cabrera and Longoria in this series, arguably the 2 best in the American League.
Yep.
Machado, his fans are going to make a case for him. I mean, you have Beltre.
Yep.
Some guys who can pick it and swing it.
Runner goes. And the pitch is fouled back. Infante had a big jump. And it's 2-2. Runner goes again on the 2-2. Swing and a miss. Throw down. Will not be in time. Infante with a stolen base, his fourth, as Pena strikes out for the second time tonight.
Well, fewest stolen bases in the American League. This team does not run. They do here. And Infante picks the right pitch to run on. A breaking ball that ends up in the dirt. Nice scoop by Lobaton and an attempt. But Infante off and running is able to get there quite easily.
Now that's a way to take care of that runner.
Hey.
His foot was off the bat.
It was.
Tagged him.
It was.
Yeah.
We saw it. Got all hung up on Escobar's wrist.
Austin Jackson, the leadoff hitter. He walked to start the game. And a handful of pitches later scored on Cabrera's home run. Strike.
That's that breaking ball. Jamie Wright has been very good with that pitch, and he's a tall guy, big guy. Stays nice and tall over the rubber, and that's why he's able to get that sinker really moving downward. Good finish on it. The curveball's got a lot of depth to it. Creates a great angle.
Jackson fouls this one up the right side. 2 outs with Infante at second. We're in the top of the 7th inning. That's the thing about this club. If you can prevent the Tigers from scoring, they've had issues at the back of games that they're still trying to solve.
Oh, wow.
Nice pick up there by Lobaton. Boy, that ball had the wild pitch all over it.
This is where you try to backhand. Lobaton gets that glove out there flat outside of his body. That's not easy to do. In fact, the only other guy I've seen do that is Longoria on a ball that was hit down the line. That is tough to get that wrist open, flipped all the way over there outside of your knee. Quick reaction, nice play.
Two to Jackson. And just a little late break on that one. And the count is full.
Stayed in. He had gotten him with an earlier curveball on the inner half. This one just stays in.
So it's a full count. Got him. Struck him out. Ran the pitch away from him. A little cutting action. 7th inning stretch, 4-2 Detroit. home half of the 7th inning here. Be sure and check out all the special events going on at Tropicana Field this summer. There's something fun and unique for everyone, like yoga at the Trop and Star Wars Day. For more info, go to www.raysbaseball.com/special events. First pitch here as Kelly Johnson tries to check on the breaking ball and went around on the appeal. Johnson struck out in the 4th inning. Evan Longoria had wanted bat and then eventually left the game with some tenderness in his right foot in association with the plantar fasciitis that he's been dealing with. 2 strikes here to Johnson. Into the dirt.
Well, familiar territory here for Scherzer. I mean, this is a guy over the course of the season that has averaged about 6.9 innings per start. And his last 7 that we referenced earlier, where he's 6-0 with an ERA of just over 2, he's averaged 7 innings per start, getting deep.
The interesting thing about him, well, there are a lot of things he's done right. His earned run average 3.05 this year. He has the best road ERA.
Yes.
That's like at 180.
Yep. How about he holds opponents to an average of under 150 on the road, 148 coming into play.
You know, it's interesting because you think even now at Comerica Park, a few years ago, they made the adjustments after it opened because it was such a pitcher's park.
Oh.
And it's still going to favor the pitcher. And to have him with that great of ERA on the road as opposed to theirs, pretty interesting.
Well, it just tells you that his stuff travels.
And it travels well. Right back into the screen with a foul ball.
Translates everywhere. Overpowering.
Scherzer will be 29 until next month, out of the University of Missouri. And he strikes out Johnson. He got him on a change in the 4th inning, came right back in the 7th here to strike him out.
Keep it down in a way. You see the grip. Now you got to sell it with the motion and the arms. You see the finish.
What finish?
It's like, it looks like,
wow.
It finishes like a split.
James Loney. Loney has struck out twice. I'll tell you, Scherzer's the best pitcher we've seen this year. Who's better than the pitches he's made tonight?
You know what? The only game that comes to mind for me is the game in Boston, Clay Buchholz. I don't think he missed a spot that day. Early on. I don't think he missed a spot that day. I think that would be the only game that would rival. Knuckleballs don't count.
That's right.
It's kind of like the National League.
Well, the knuckleball's in a special category. You just put that over there and go, wow, he had no chance with what R.A. Dickey was doing the other day. So just move that to a special category. And in the conventional sense, Buchholz and Scherzer.
Yes.
Scherzer's the best going right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 15 starts, 11-0. Enough said.
Yeah.
Enough said. Run support or not. And he has pitched on the right days, but he's pitched very well on the right days.
Full count now. Well, he's 11-0. The last pitcher to start 12-0 was Roger Clemens back in 1986 when he went 14-0. Tapper, and he's going to make this play himself. He's doing everything. So 2 outs in the 7th inning, and we'll check in with Todd Callis. Todd?
Will Myers fitting in well with this Rays team and in the Rays clubhouse. We asked him about the culture Joe Madden creates and how it is working in with this team.
It's great, you know. They really treat me well. Obviously, I had to sing a little bit, but you know, I kind of expected that. I got a good sense of it in spring training, the way the clubhouse was. They're very laid back here, which I like a lot. It's a great group of guys, and Madden does a great job here.
Will is a laid-back guy. Did spend the off day finding a place here in St. Pete to live, and he found a place no longer at a hotel, guys.
And Myers takes this one the other way. One hop into right, and he has himself hit number 2 of the game.
Well, again, showing that ability to go to right field on that ball that was away from him, but it wasn't down. And that swing, he just shoots it. I mean, that was not a swing, a powerful swing, trying to do too much. That is, if you're going to throw this ball out there, I'm going to go out after it. Look at him, just go out there and poke that thing into right field. And by the way, speaking of that, Dwayne, we thought that Shark Week, also known as Will Myers Week, was over before the off day. But I was perusing yesterday, trying to see some Rays news, keeping up on things or anything I need to know coming into play today.
Sure.
And I stumbled across an article about Will Myers and what he was going to be doing on his off day, which was buying clothes and finding an apartment. Now, please explain to me why I need to read a story about what that man is doing on his off day, about getting an apartment and buying clothes. Are you kidding me? Nothing else to write about? I mean, really?
It's an off day.
Yes.
Write about something.
So apparently Shark Week is now Shark Month. We're heading into that, which is fine. Two more hits tonight. Right.
Shark Week.
Home run to left, base hit to right.
Featuring Will Myers.
Yes, I cannot wait for tomorrow's story.
And the continuing saga of Will Myers and Shark Week.
Well, I hope he got an apartment and got clothes. I'm sure maybe
Apparently
that'll be the there was a story following up with that one.
Yeah,
that's
Todd was just talking about that. And
I
so
tune
he's all
out.
good. Cut and miss by Luke. 1-2. Take a look at his home run here, B.A.
Yeah, that was a blast. Cabrera went 102.2 and 103.1, and Myers making a bid there at 102.9. That ball was just jumped off the bat, and the ball out over the plate. And then but see, that's what you like about a young hitter. He does that, and then the very next at bat on a pitch that's away, what's he do? He just takes his base hit to right. Outstanding.
Shot. Will it stay fair? That's a fair ball off the corner. Bobble by a moment. Hunter in to score is Myers, and it's a one-run ball game.
You know what? I don't think that Torrey Hunter had an idea that if he's able to come up with that ball cleanly, he could have kept Will Myers at third. And even on the bobble, they had a chance to keep Will Myers at third, or at least have a play at the plate. He turns and throws into second, and that makes it an easy score for the Rays. That ball came off that wall so hard that they had a chance to keep Will at third and did not do it. Nice job, Luke Scott. Ball elevated out over the plate, roped into the corner. He's going to be going with 2 outs, but that ball had already come off that wall. And a good relay, they got him, but he's low flying around third. The Rays draw closer.
The Rays make it a one-run ball game with a 2-out run here in the 7th. Luke Scott with a double, his 8th of the year. And Jose Lobaton will be the next hitter. Action in the bullpen for the Tigers. Lobaton 0 for 2. So the single by Myers and the double by Scott. Smiley, the left-hander. Bruce Rondon, the right-hander down there. Lobaton missed the mid-90s fastball.
A little bit tardy, and he really dug down for that one. Drop and drive. Shot that ball in there at 95.
A ball, 2 strikes, and that one was up to 97.
Yeah, and it looked like it. He really reached back on the last 2 fastballs.
Just a bit wide. Fastball again. This is the first at bat the Rays have had tonight with a man in scoring position.
I don't believe you.
And they have 3 runs.
You're gonna have to show me video proof of that.
You can check your scorebook.
You're gonna have to show me video proof of that.
2-2 now. Scott at second. 2 outs. The ground ball down to first. Fielder will make the play unassisted. And so the Rays pick up a run on 2 hits. They draw within a run. Here's what's coming up Sunday on Rays Live, the pregame show presented by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. We'll review the plays of the month. There's an Inside the Rays preview, and Hellickson's return to form in recent starts. All of that 1 o'clock Sunday. Rays Live presented by your Gulf Coast Honda dealer.
That has been very encouraging, the Jeremy Hellickson deal. And I'll tell you what else is encouraging is seeing Jose Lobaton back out there behind the plate, because watch what happens here as he grounds out to end the inning. Watch the left foot. Rolls that ankle there, and you can see the grimace and the limp. Not need that.
So the Rays leave Scott at second after Scott drove in Myers, and Kyle Farnsworth is the 3rd pitcher of the game for the Rays tonight.
He's out for the 28th time and looking to throw up another 0 and give this Rays offense another crack. They have done a great job after falling down early tonight 4-0, just to continue to chip away with limited chances. Apparently only one time there's been a runner in scoring position. It has yet to be confirmed, but that's the story. It's now 4-3.
Here's Torrey Hunter, who takes a strike from Farnsworth. I'll help you fill in your scorebook.
I hope so. I'm playing tic-tac-toe by myself right now. And everyone's a draw.
Frustrating after a while.
Goodness. Hangman's next.
1-1 the count here to Hunter. Cabrera on deck and then Fielder. Ground ball down to Kelly Johnson at third. That's out number one. Second straight time that Hunter's gone out third to first. Miguel Cabrera 3 for 3 tonight. 2 of those home runs.
Well, that was just center cut right out over the plate. And then how about this one? Same thing. That little slider cutter breaks right to the middle, and he lost both of them.
I'll tell you, you got to give Colomé a lot of credit after giving up the home run in the first, right off the bat, a 2-run home run.
Yeah.
And again in the fourth, then Fielder double. They get another run on that. Here's Cabrera taking it down the right side, slicing foul, strike one. But Colomé really competed tonight.
You're doggone right.
And I think here's a 6-inning stint, 4 runs, 4 hits.
Yeah.
But it's better than the numbers would indicate.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a guy that's on another planet right now, what he's doing at the plate, that got you twice. Hey, listen, the kid went out there, competed, pitched tough against a very good lineup. Maybe the best lineup in baseball. And so, yeah, you absolutely love what he did, because after that, you listen, he was the guy they took the 4-0 lead on, and then he was able to slow it and let the Rays get back to 4-2, turn it over to the bullpen. They do their job for an inning. Boom, now it's 4-3. Had to stop somewhere, and Colomé was the guy to get it going.
Farnsworth up, 2 strikes on Cabrera. Too high, 1-2. Al Albuquerque busy in the bullpen down the left field line for Detroit. Cesar Ramos is throwing in the Rays bullpen up the right side. Shot to center field, well tagged. Jennings will play it off the bottom of the wall. On his way to second is Cabrera, and he is 4 for 4 tonight. That's his 20th double.
How's he only hitting 375, 377 now? This is ridiculous. And you see the way the ball jumps off his bat, right center, well, center field, but to the right side. Boy, just solid contact. Stay inside that baseball, and boom.
Four for 4 for Cabrera. Pitching change coming. Metro PCS called to the bullpen.
with our AT&T Twitter poll question tonight. When David Price returns, who should be in Alex Cobb's spot in the rotation? Hashtag TB1 Chris Archer. Hashtag TB2 tonight's starter Alex Colome. Hashtag TB3 the guy currently in the bullpen, Alex Torres. Tweet your votes to @SunSportsRays. Results in the Rays live postgame show presented by Checkers, guys.
Todd, pretty impressive, reducing fractions there.
Yes, and that was my understanding.
With 6 hits.
That's right. That there would be no math tonight.
It's getting out of hand. Cesar Ramos in here to face Prince Fielder. And here's the deal with Fielder. He's got a double in the 4th inning. He came into this game hitting .337 against left-handed pitching.
Yes.
And there's a method to his success.
Well, what he has done, and he understands, hitting behind Miguel Cabrera, there's going to be an awful lot of...
Long shot, deep, deep. And that baby hit the 3rd catwalk and is out of here.
That may have hit the back wall of this stadium.
If it had not
yes.
hit the catwalk, I think you might be right.
That baseball was absolutely destroyed.
Even before we could get to the method to his approaching left-handed pitching, he does this.
I mean, towering. That was a no-doubter. It was just, where's it going to go? Where's it going to end up? And yeah, when you get to talk about what he's been able to do, he understands hitting behind Cabrera. Boom. That there's going to be an awful lot of not pitching to Cabrera, pitching around him, and a lot of lefties coming in to face Prince Fielder. So what he has done is he has taken batting practice every single day off of a left-handed batting practice pitcher.
Victor Martinez sends a fly ball to center. Well, it's something that's pretty simple, but not often practiced. And so Fielder, who just hit the gargantuan home run, his 13th of the year, is hitting .337 against left-handed pitching and .258 against right-handed pitching. And it's because of his approach and his extra work against left-handed pitching.
Well, listen, he understands his important at-bats, his big bats, his high-leverage at-bats are going to come late in games. And late in games, they're going to be bringing in the lefty to face him. And so why not work on that each and every day? This is a repetition sport. It's a skill sport.
It's down to Peralta. 1-1 to count. So Cabrera scores on the Prince Fielder home run. It's now 6-3 Detroit. One and two. Two and two. So one of those runs charged to Farnsworth. Tigers have hit 3 home runs tonight, 2 by Cabrera and 1 to Fielder. And it's a full count. Pulled foul beyond the Tiger bullpen and out of play. Well, the 3 and 4 spots, Cabrera and Fielder have handed out the damage in this game. The Tigers have 7 hits. That combination has 6 of them. 5 runs batted in on a wild pitch, and there's a shot to left. Joyce will leap and make the catch at the track to retire the side. 2-run score on the home run by Fielder, and Matt Joyce leaping to grab this one. 6-3 Detroit.
And be sure to join us after the final out for Rays Live, the post-game show presented by Checkers. Dwayne and B.A. will break down Miguel Cabrera's crazy night, 4 for 4 right now with 2 homers. Unbelievable. I'll be in the clubhouse waiting for Evan Longoria, trying to get the latest on that re-aggravated plantar fasciitis. And, of course, Orestes and Todd will be steering the ship.
Well, here we go into the bottom of the 8th inning. Rays with a couple shots left. They will face Albuquerque. Albuquerque just up from Toledo.
Say that again.
Escobar chops one foul outside of third. There must be an Albuquerque somewhere in Ohio that would be just up from Toledo.
I don't know. There's not a lot of room between Toledo and the Michigan border.
Somewhere.
I don't know. There's not. It's a pretty short drive. Potentially. We do know of one Albuquerque that was very near Toledo.
Smack dab in Toledo.
Yes.
And pitched well and is now back with the Tigers, has a 2-strike count on Escobar. He was recalled on the 21st of June, just a week ago. Been optioned from the Tigers to Toledo in the middle of May. So it's been an evolving situation in the Tiger bullpen.
Yeah. Well, that's what they're going to need to tighten up, because when you look at this ball club, the Detroit Tigers, they catch the ball well, get that out of the way. They run out a tremendous starting rotation, maybe the best in the American League. On top of that, their lineup speaks for itself. I mean, they rake. So, you know, you got to clean up that bullpen, because that's what ends up happening. That's where you get exposed in October, is the bullpen. You can hit, you can pitch, but you got to be able to get those last 6-9 outs of a ball game that are very difficult to get. So you need a lockdown bullpen. That's what they have not had thus far.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Orioles have a 4-3 lead, batting in the bottom of the 8th on the Yankees. And the Blue Jays and the Red Sox are tied 5-5, top of the 7th inning in Boston. That's when Encarnacion has hit his 23rd home run. A full count to Escobar. Rays got 3 runs in 7 innings on 4 hits off Scherzer. Escobar battling Albuquerque. Scherzer made 109 pitches, 7 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, all earned. He struck out 9 and walked 1. And a good at bat for Escobar, battling to draw the walk, and the Rays have the leadoff man on in the bottom of the 8th. Remember all those great Rays moments, including the first trip to the World Series and Game 162. With the Historic Moments canvas, purchase the Tampa Bay Times ticket tandem for any game against the Tigers through this Sunday and get this exclusive item. Visit RaysBaseball.com/tandems for more info.
The tandem back up again.
Smiley and Rondon. Bruce Rondon and Smiley. Matt Joyce, 1-0 the count. Albuquerque in with a mid-90s fastball there for a strike. Upstairs. Well, Leland would like to settle this bullpen situation. In his career as a manager, he's gone the committee route before. In fact, back in Pittsburgh in the early 90s, he won 3 division titles there and averaged 7 pitchers on his staff who registered saves, and not one of them had as many as 20 saves in that stretch, and yet they were winning titles there. But he'd prefer not to do that.
Yeah, well, and they yeah, let's just leave it at that. Well, you know what? That's how they started the year. You know, Bruce Rondon, the right-hander warming up in the bullpen right now, was anointed the closer in spring training and had such a horrible spring training. Albuquerque able to pick up a strikeout there on Matt Joyce. That obviously that didn't happen. So at the beginning of the season, that's exactly what they went with, was the committee approach. A lot of guys getting opportunities, and then all of a sudden Jose Valverde, who they had signed on April 4th to a minor league contract, he gets called up at the end of April, and there's your closer. Well, he ends up 9 out of 12, ERA over 5.5, was designated for assignment. He's back in Toledo now, and now Joaquin Benoit. The Rays, obviously, Rays fans familiar with him, the great work that he did here.
In the setup role, he was untouchable and had been doing that in Detroit, but now he will get first shot and has recently as the closer.
And he's 4 out of 4 with an ERA of under 2. So far, it's working out.
Two and 0 the count on Desmond Jennings.
You can do a lot of that stuff, you know, in the regular season and get by. But once you start matching up with other powerhouse teams in October, that's where you get exposed.
It's wide, 3-0.
I'll tell you what, Albuquerque may just throw the Rays right into a nice little rally here. Ball all over the place. Part of the order coming up. Although missing one very important, Evan Longoria.
The bullpen sends a reminder. Loose ball from the bullpen rolled all the way to the mound.
Doesn't look like they're faring much better.
(3-0). And there's a strike called. Three and 1 to Jennings. Broken bat through the coaching box and down into the bullpen. So the count is full. a new bat for Desmond Jennings. Cleveland has beaten the White Sox. The Indians over the White Sox 19-10. And Albert's got the win, the second of 7 Cleveland pitchers. Bauer was knocked out in the first when the White Sox jumped to a 5-0 lead. Runner goes, the pitch. That's a strike, says Brian Knight. He calls Jennings out, saying that he offered. Jennings thought he had checked, but he is out on strikes.
Yeah, that was going to be close, but it looked from the naked eye, just from that view, that Jennings went a little too far on a ball that was out of the zone. That bat got down there so quick. That's what Brian Knight, he sees that, and boy, that is right on that borderline. And you can make a case that he didn't go there, but that bat was flinched out there so quick that Knight called him on it. And after falling back 3-0, Albuquerque's able to come back and get him.
So a walk and 2 strikeouts. Jim Leyland comes out to make a pitching change. Metro PCS call to the bullpen. Miss the next episode of Inside the Rays Sunday. Get an inside look at how the Rays develop their players through the minor league system. The Rays Way is the environment of cooperation among the staff, a team effort to produce pro baseball players. Inside the Rays Way airs Sunday after Rays Live. Here's Ben Zobrist facing Drew Smiley. Ball is outside. So Escobar's at second. He was on the move on that pitch that struck out Jennings, so he'll get a stolen base. Zobrist, who homered from the left side of the plate back in the 4th inning, bats here in the 8th. The Rays had closed the gap to 4-3 until that home run by Prince Fielder in the top half of this inning. Foul ball, straight back. The count is 1-2. One-two is foul. Look out. Boy, Tom Foley close out of the box at third, and Tom ducking that.
And giving him the stink eye.
See where he is with the runner at second. Look how close he is.
And you see him taking that peek in, too. Just for that reason right there. Having to go all Spider-Man on us.
2-2 count. Two now. Escobar walked, moved to second on a steal on the strikeout of Jennings for the second out of the inning. Leland, his 8th season as the manager of the Tigers. Zobrist out on strikes. So the Rays leave a man at second. On to the 9th, 6-3 Detroit. To the 9th we go. Don Kelly leads off. First pitch from Cesar Ramos is a fastball in for a strike. Looper, shallow left, over the head of Escobar and in front of Joyce. Took a quick right turn as Joyce came in trying to make the pickup and stopped it with his bare hand.
Yeah, I was going to say, good thing that Matt Joyce, lanky, that ball gets by him. Don Kelly probably on second base. Funky bounce. This ball just out in no man's land. And watch Matt Joyce with the wingspan.
The 8th Detroit hit. Omar Infante is 1 for 3. One and 0. Fonte out in front of the changeup. 8 hits for the Tigers. Cabrera has half of those. Fielder has 2. Kelly, who's at first, has 1, and Fonte, who's at the plate, has the other one. It's down. 2-1. Cabrera, by the way, 4 for 4, is now hitting .377 with 2 home runs, a single, and a walk tonight. 3 RBIs, giving him 81. And ball 3 is too low. Ryan Pena, the catcher, is on deck. So between Cabrera and Fielder, they're 6 of 7. They've scored 5 runs, driven in 5 runs. They've had 2 doubles and 3 home runs. Runner goes, and the pitch is foul, out of play. So that's pretty much maximizing the production from the 3 and 4 spots in the Tiger order.
Yeah, and coming in, you know that's where the danger lies. A lot of very good hitters in this lineup, but in particular those 2 guys. And they have gotten it done in a huge way tonight. And I don't think it's necessarily that the Rays' plan against these hitters is a bad plan. If you go back and look at see where these pitches are that they hit tonight, they are all right out over the heart of the plate. Thigh high, at the belt. I mean, just pitches that were, well, they did to them what they were supposed to.
Runner goes, pitch inside for ball 4. So on a single and a walk, the first 2 men are on here in the 9th inning. And Jim Hickey makes yet another trip to the mound tonight. Well, tomorrow night it will be the Rays and the Tigers on the Fox network, and then we'll be back on Sunday for the wrap-up game of the series beginning at 1 o'clock. Our coverage begins on Sun Sports. Rick Porcello against Jeremy Hellickson for Game 3 on Sunday.
Hey, Dwayne, I was thinking that maybe we could do our broadcast tonight from the burrito stand, or tomorrow night. We could do it from the burrito stand.
Okay.
We could.
What an idea.
There's, I mean, nice stools. I mean, it sets up well. Production crew to the right and the left.
Oh, the crew, absolutely right.
You need the crew. Mm-hmm. It's not a telecast without the crew.
That's right.
Just a thought. Talk about it later.
Okay, good. Ryan Pena running foul. Hey, by the way, after that 19-10 game, the Indians over the White Sox, Game 2.
Yep.
Delayed by rain.
Uncle.
Yeah.
Uncle.
How about that? Oh, my gosh. Casper Wells pitched a scoreless 9th for the White Sox in that game, by the way. This bunt. Loney will have to go to Zobrist. So Kelly goes to 3rd and Fonte to 2nd. So 1 out, 2 men in scoring position for the top of the order. The Orioles have beaten the Yankees. That's a 4-3 final. The Yankees at one time led 3-0 in that game. Austin Jackson takes a strike. Infield up now with Jackson at the plate. 2 men in scoring position in a 6-3 game. Line drive right at Escobar, and the flip to Johnson at third. They get the double play. Drawn in infield, and Jackson lines into a 6-5 double play to end the top half of the ninth. So the Tigers threaten, do not score. Bottom of the ninth coming, 6-3 the score. Rotted telecast is presented by authority of the Tampa Bay Rays and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Tampa Bay Rays. The Rays need 3 to keep it going, so they need base runners.
Well, that's exactly where it starts. And Joaquin Benoit been handed a 3-run lead. He is 4 for 4 in saves since taking over the closer's role. He'll go to work against Kelly Johnson.
Kelly 0 for 2, a couple of strikeouts. And the first pitch is a strike around the knees. Kelly victimized twice by Scherzer on the changeup. Benoit throws 2 quick strikes.
92-94 at the kneecaps. And he's got that Vulcan grip changeup. Nasty pitch.
It's wide. He really found his stride with the Rays. And had some physical issues, had command issues early. Always a good, strong arm. But command was an issue for a great deal of the time when he was with Texas. And a cut to miss. Fired the fastball by him.
Well,
let it out.
Yeah, you know Kelly Johnson has that little bit of an uppercut swing. And so if you're able to elevate that fastball just a little bit, watch how Kelly gets underneath this ball. Trying to come up there and get it, but just a little bit too tall for him. And 95 miles an hour, like you said. He jumped on that
one. It's 4 consecutive strikeouts by the Detroit bullpen. Here's James Loney. Cut the miss on the fastball.
Well, this is a pitching staff. They've given up the fewest home runs in the American League coming into play. Most strikeouts in Major League Baseball. They are a high-octane, big-time strikeout staff.
Foul ball, runs the count to 2 strikes. For Scherzer, pitched 7 innings, had 9 strikeouts. Albuquerque had 2, Smiley 1. Benoit strikes out the first man he faces and is up 2 strikes on Loney.
Where's Todd? How many does that make total?
Little looper, that's going to be in there for a base hit. Loney brings up hit number 5. Well, the closer situation, the closer carousel, if you will. Valverde, Benoit, Smiley, and Koch. Valverde designated for assignment, did go to Toledo. Tigers think he could be back, close games for them.
And we, not even on the graphic, but Bruce Rondon, who was anointed the closer in spring training. That didn't work out. He's now back with the club. Be interesting to see what his role will be.
Will Myers up here. Myers with a home run and a single tonight, and a couple runs scored. Fouls it out of play. Well, it is out of here down the left field line. Ray with 3 home runs in his first 11 career games. 3 homers and 9 runs batted in for Will Myers. One and 2.
Well, there's that changeup right there. And that one not particularly in the best spot. It's still effective because Benoit throws it hard. Good arm action. That ball stays middle in, and Will just out of there a little bit too quick.
Tapper foul. Forcing another pitch. Tigers led 2-0, 4-0, 4-1, 4-2. Rays made it 4-3 with a run in the 7th, but the Tigers got 2 in the 8th to make it 6-3. We're in the bottom of the 9th now, 1 on, 1 out. Rays need another base runner to have a shot. Luke Scott on deck. And strike 3 called on the outside corner.
Did you see the setup down there of Brian Pena? He let that leg out. He got way on the outside corner and was begging for that fastball from Benoit down and away. That's exactly where they want to attack Will Myers. Look at him. Give me that ball down. That's a ball right there where he's got his glove. You see Benoit go right to him. And he gets the call.
Fox Track calls it a ball.
Awfully close.
Now Luke Scott. 14 strikeouts for Detroit pitching. Scott punts back into the screen.
Now Luke Scott, everybody playing back. He's looking to just punch one the other way, get on base, and get the tying run to the plate. Give your team one shot, and that's probably a big reason why there. 0 for 8 with 6 strikeouts against Benoit.
Lobaton is on deck. Loney was off with the first pitch with everybody back. Off with this pitch. And it's popped up. It's Peralta at shortstop making the catch, and that will end the game. With the Rays in the ninth, no runs, a hit, and one man left. Tigers take game one of this 3-game series. It's a 6-3 final. As Max Scherzer gets the win, Alex Colomé will suffer the loss. And a very big night for Miguel Cabrera. As we promised earlier in the game, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Cabrera opened the scoring with a long home run in the first. That came with Jackson aboard. Opened the fourth inning with another home run. That made it 3-0 at the time. They built a 4-run lead. The Rays closed the gap to 1, and the Tigers reopened it and win it 6-3. We'll be right back.